Hello everyone, welcome back to the course. So, this presentation is all about defining the operating systems and saying something about the computer system structure. What are the components of the computer system, plus the tasks that are provided by the operating system. I'm Mrs. Archana Priyadashini, Assistant Professor, the Department of ISC, Canara Engineering College. So, next is talking about the computer system architecture. So, what is this computer system architect structure? So, talking about this computer system is basically divided into three main components. That is hardware, operating system, and application programs. So, in this hardware, basically it consists of memory, CPU, ALU, I/O devices, peripheral devices, storage devices, right? And the in the program side, that is we also have got system program and application program. So system programs, they consist of compilers, loaders, editors, OS, etc. And application program, it consists of business program, database program, word processors, video games, etc. So as you know, every computer must have an operating system. So it controls and coordinates the use of hardware among other system programs as well as application programs for various users. And the users may be people, machines, or other computers. But why do we actually need this? In the sense, for what? What are the goals of the operating system? As we already know that the main goal is efficiency, right? Efficiency, and then we have got convenience, or what we can say is user convenience, and the ability to evolve. So these are the main goals of an operating system. So any operating system must be efficient to use. So we can say the word efficiency in terms of the use, basic use, or memory, or we can say this in terms of space and time, right? So you know, operating system is a software that manages the hardware, and the hardware must provide appropriate mechanism to ensure that the correct operation is being performed, or to prevent the users from interfering with the proper operation. So such kind of control must be provided by the operating system. And next, when we talk about efficiency, moreover, in order to have efficient use of resources, these must be monitored by the operating system. So it must perform proper scheduling of the resources. Let's say the user one wants to get access to the resources, but it is being used by other user. So operating system must have the control to decide who has got priority to which resource. So such kind of coordination and control must be provided by the operating system. So in case if the memory is not free, then the user cannot load any new program in the memory. So this control also must be provided by the operating system in terms of memory management. So in the second goal that I want to say is about the convenience, user convenience. So this here lies the main objective of the operating system. User convenience means it must be the operating system must uh, have a good kind of ease of use, and it must evolve, and it must be user friendly. It should provide good service to the users. So in this way, we can say that user convenience can be improved or affected, and it must have the ability to evolve. So basic tasks performed by the operating system will be to list the authorized users, maintain the resource usage list, and scheduling of the resources, so on. So here you can observe that we have got the operating system resides in between the computer hardware and system and application programs. User interacts with the operating system in terms of the application programs or system programs, and the operating system performs the control operation and coordinates with the hardware in order to give the desired services to the user. So, coming once again to the definition of an operating system, it acts as the resource allocator. That is, it is in charge of managing all the resources. Who has to get uh, what kind of resource, and what is the priority of the resource usage. And next is it acts as a control program. Control program, by the term, it's clear that it controls the execution of the programs in order to prevent any errors. So if there are two users who are simultaneously using the same data, it decides which user has to get the control over to the program. So in this way, it prevents improper use of the computer. So what do the operating systems do? So coming to the point of view, that is from the user point, what is the role of the operating system? From the system view, what is the role of operating system? Right? So first, from the user point of view, it must actually serve the user, in the sense, if the user sits in front of the computer consisting of monitor, keyboard, mouse, and system unit, it must be designed for that user itself. Okay, that means the OS or the operating system must be designed mostly for ease of use. So whatever the user requires, it must perform the task quickly, efficiently, and as per the desire of the user. So we can have also mainframes or mini computers attached to one other terminal, and many users will be accessing the same computer through their terminals, and it was performed in such a way that the users can share the resources and exchange the informations. And the main goal of the operating system here lies in maximizing the resource utilization. So according to the system view, from the system point of view, how should the operating system be? So as you know, the computer is a set of resources, and these resources, they provide various functions to the user. So the operating system is responsible for managing all the resources. So a portion of the OS will be in the main memory, and this portion of this OS is called the kernel. And this is the kernel responsible for majority of the tasks. So if the kernel fails, the entire operating system is going to crash. So user program and the data will be stored in the remaining parts of the memory, right? And this main memory allocation will be controlled by the operating system, right? So from the system point of view, what actually the task of the operating system is it must allow multiple users to program or to run at the same time. Okay, according to its the system point, it must serve for all the users in minimum amount of time, and protecting their resources, protecting the memory, IO devices, and other resources that is being exchanged or managed. So this is the basic point, that is when coming to time and space. So resource management means in terms of time and in terms of space. So time slot must be allocated to each program, and there must be priority given to each of the users while managing different resources. So that is from the system point of view. So next, coming to the tasks of operating system, highlighting some of the tasks are process management, the memory management, and file management, and IO management. So all these will be discussed later in detail. So here let's see the steps involved in creating and running a particular code. So let's say the user has written a C program. It starts first checking for the errors, and he gives the data to the compiler. The compiler will translate into required language, machine language later. So first it translates into assembly language code, and which is given to the assembler, and assembler will generate the object code. And these libraries are being linked by the linker to generate the machine code. And this machine language is being loaded into the memory. So these are the steps involved in creating and running a particular code. So next, let's say this is a program where user wants to is desired, or he wants to print the word called hello world. And but how actually, have you ever thought of how exactly is this being printed in memory? Have you ever thought of it? Just to give a printf statement, okay, it is being printed, but where, how it is printed, what color is it printed, or what are the coordinates of the memory, what are the coordinates in memory where it is being printed, what is the address in which it is being printed, okay, what is the alignment in which that particular string hello world is being printed. So all these things are it is very, if you have thought of coding all these things, it would be very hectic, right? So these high level languages have reduced our majority portions of the job. Just we need to give the logic to the compiler, and the compiler will do the other tasks of connecting to the assembler and then loader and linker, right? So just see here, we can observe the RAM, and here where we have got the data called hello world, the temporary data, that is hello world, is being stored in RAM and is being given to the processor, and processor will connect to the graphics card as to which coordinates, what is the color, what's the depth, and where it is being printed. So this is being printed into the monitor, right? So coming to the first task, that is process management. Before starting with the process management concept, let's see what is a process. So process is an active entity that requires a set of resources including processor, program counter, and registers to perform its function. So a process is an active entity that requires set of resources including a processor, program counter, and registers to perform the function. So multiple processes may be associated with one program, right? And process means the program in execution, and it may be in sequential order or it may be in parallel order. It's also task. So each process will have its own address space that may be divided into text region, data region, or stack region. And talking about this process management, basically there is a concept called as process control block. So operating systems keeps all the process. First of all, OS creates the process, and whenever it creates a process for a particular program, it creates something called as process descriptor. Okay, process descriptor, and in some operating system they call it as a process control block or PCB. So what exactly is there in this PCB is, for a particular process you will have the process identification number, priority number, program counter for that process, memory allocation, IO status information, list of files, open files or accounting information, so on. So you can just observe this task manager. We have got several process listed that is being running in the background. With this process ID or process descriptor, so which is a unique quantity for a particular user. So for a particular process, it has got a different PID, and we can see all these processes are being running in the background or foreground in the task manager view. And the operating system, we can also desire to end a particular task from the application side, or the from the system portion. The operating system controls what resource or what process has to be initiated and what process has to be uh, discarded. So coming to more in more depth of process management. So what does basically the OS do is, first of all, it creates a process or a program, and it can load that particular process into the memory. It can get the process attributes and set the process attributes. You can wait for some particular time, you can wait for an event, you can allocate and free memory, and finally that process can end as well as abort. Okay, so these are the tasks of an operating system. So first, the operating system can create a process, it can get the process attributes, set the process attributes, wait for a particular time, wait for an event or signal event, allocate and free the memory for that process. Okay, and then end as well as abort that particular process. So some information, as I've already listed in the process control block, we will be having the basic information for a particular process. And the process has got several states, starting from new state, ready state, waiting state, running state, and finally termination. So this operating system manages all these states in terms of a state diagram. So these are the tasks that an operating system can do. Next, you can observe OS as a resource manager. Okay, you can see the list of resources that are being used. That is CPU, 12% memory, 85% is being used, disk less percent, and Ethernet and other Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. You can observe the usage rate. And you can also observe that there is a virtualization and logical processes are being used, different threads are being used. So you can observe processes are running are 171, but the threads are 2418, right? Parallelly, for a particular process you can have several threads, and for each thread there is a thread handler. And next is about the OS monitor job. So we can observe that for several processes there's a PID, and there is something called as working, whether it's a working or shareable or private kind of uh, processes. So this memory is being managed. So this, we are talking in terms of memory here. Physical memory is being used 79%, and some of the hard faults which are being used are less, quite less. And you can observe the hardware reserved and which are modified and which are free, or how much percentage of cache is being used, and how much percent of memory is actually available, and how much memory is being installed. So the OS knows all the details of the memory, and it tries to manage, coordinate these resources among various users. It has got a fixed time wherein it performs context switching of these processes, and it sees that the resources are being allocated to the users at a particular time and deallocated whenever it user does not want them. So this is all the same process here. In here they are described about the CPU, how much percentage of process is being used, and how many threads are there, and whether it's suspended or running, which state is the process is in which state. All these things are being given here, and some kind of handlers or modules that is being used for that particular thread. So compared to the previous task, that is process management, and the process will actually need certain resources like CPU time, memory, and so on. So these resources will be given to the processes when they are allocated. And when the process terminates, the operating system must reclaim all those resources. So the in terms of process management, actually the OS job is to create, destroy the user and system process, allocate the hardware resources among the users, among the processes, control the progress of the processes, provide mechanism for process communication, also mechanism for deadlock handling. So these were the processes that were listed in process management. Now when compared to this with this to the memory management, so the memory management actually is concerned with the management of primary memory. So memory management does the following functions, that is keeping track of the status of each location of main memory, that is whether it is free or allocated, and if it is allocated, some kind of allocation policy for the memory, like first in whether it has to perform first in first out allocation, or some other mechanisms. So allocation technique will be decided, or it must be selected, and allocation information must be updated. And when it is deallocated, that means when that number or when that resource is not being used further, that such kind of deallocation technique and policy must be followed by the operating system in terms of memory management. So this is mainly concerned with the allocation of physical memory. So you can observe here how much percentage of the memory is being used, how much of them are committed, and how much of them are available and cached. So this is also being displayed in the memory management system. So here you can observe in the process memory you've got text stack to maintain local variables and heap to maintain the dynamic kind of data. So whenever two processes communicate, so this is a kind of a scenario. So let's say process P1 and P2 wants to communicate with the secondary memory. So let's say process P1 has finished and it goes for an IO. So this process has to be swapped out from the main memory to the secondary memory. So this is done by the memory management. Yeah, it's like allocating and deallocating, right? So this has to be swapped out so that other process can get in, and we can the memory can be made efficient, in the sense CPU need not be idle, right? So the other process P3 that wants to get in can be swapped into the main memory for execution, and process P3 can come back once it has got an IO, and once P1 has already finished the IO, it can get back into the main memory. So all these kind of allocation deallocation is being done, and kind of mechanisms and what kind of policy is being used for such allocation deallocation must be done by the main memory. So here you can observe pictorially how the process 2 has been deallocated, memory has been deallocated. So let's say process 2 wants to quit, that is it may perform some, it may be busy requiring for some IO swap. So wherein process P2 is being deallocated, the memory used by process P2 is being deallocated by the operating system, and the same let's say process P4 wants to come into the memory for execution. So this swap in and swap out is done by the operating system over a particular time interval, context switching time, and whenever process P2 it has got the desired memory or required memory in, it gets into the main memory for execution. So here let's see the concept of spooling. So spool is it's an acronym for simultaneous peripheral operations online. Simultaneous peripheral operations online. So it's a kind of buffering mechanism or a process in which data will be temporarily held to be data that is temporarily held to be used and executed by a device or the system. So here you can observe the card reader, the data that is read by the card reader is brought into the CPU and then swapped onto the disk, and from the disk you can get the data anywhere back to printing in terms of line printer. So it's a kind of buffering mechanism where you can temporarily store the data in a particular device. So data will be sent and stored in a memory until the program or computer requests it for execution. So it works like a typical request queue, right? So where data, instructions, and processes from multiple sources, they will be accumulated for execution later on. So how will these be? How will the data request be processed? In the first in, first out manner. If the data that is first sent will be stored in the disk, and it will be processed in the first point, and next for the second data it will be processed in the next point. So it will be processed in a first in, first out manner. Whatever instruction you give first, that will be there in the queue, and that will be popped out and then given for execution. So more often you can see the application of the spooling in keyboard, printers, and mouse. For example, if we in a printer, so let's say that the files which are sent to the printer are first stored in the memory or the printer spooler. So once the printer is ready, it fetches the data from the spool and prints it. So most probably you will find this kind of spooling in a batch processing system where we need to maintain a queue of ready to run jobs, okay, which can start as soon as the system has the resources. So first, reframing the operating system, talking about the inner details of this operating system. Before we had seen there was a hardware down below base, and we had got an operating system, and just above that we had got application programs or system programs, and then the user used to interact with such programs with the help of operating system. When we go into the inner details of this operating system, there we have got a user interface, basically wherein user can interact, right, with the operating system. And how do these user interfaces they contact the operating system? Just by with the help of system calls. And there is an hardware which mm, which will take the input from the system calls in terms of procedures written in terms of memory or process or network or power. So all those management facility is being provided by the operating system. So we have got file management, memory management, process management, network management, and power management. So next, see the next kind of management or the operations of an operating system. So far we have seen the basic operations, that is it consists of dual mode operation and timer. These are the basic operations or inherent operations. So these things what I will be discussing further are the main tasks of an operating system, like process management, memory management, storage management, file management, etc. So first is your process management. When we talk about process, let's talk about program first. What is a program? Program is nothing but it's a set of instructions which are executed by the CPU. So a program in execution is called a process. So whenever we have got a program and it is been given to the CPU for execution, then their OS creates a process. For each program, we have got process being created. So a time shared user programs test compiler is a process, right? Similarly, any task like sending output to the printer can also be a process. What do process need? They basically need resources like CPU time, memory, files, and IO devices. And these resources are either given to the process when it is created or allocated to it while it is running. So, can we say both program and process are same? No. Program by itself is not a process, right? It's a static kind of thing. Only when we give it for execution by to the CPU, then it becomes a process. The program in execution is a process, but program itself is not a process. And a program is just a passive entity, like the contents being stored on a disk, whereas a process is an active entity. If we take the concept of single-threaded and multi-threaded process, as you know, there are two types of processes, which are single-threaded and multi-threaded process. So in a single-threaded process, it has got just one program counter specifying the next instruction to execute. So the execution of such a process must be sequential. The single thread process, so only a single thread of execution. That means there should be a flow or a plan of the sequence of the task. So it must be sequential in a single threaded process. Whereas in a multi-threaded process, wherein the system has got many threads of execution or multiple program counters, and each will point to the next instruction to execute. But a process is a unit of work in a system. Like a system consists of collection of process. Some of them may be operating system process and some of them may be user process, right? And all the process required some resources. So what is the main role of operating system here? The main role of operating system is that it should be scheduling the processes and threads on CPU, and suspending and resuming the process provide some process synchronization and process communication. So the main goal of operating system is, let's say a user has created a program, a client program, and also the other program called server program. So the main goal is to communicate between the client and server to get certain tasks. The OS must be able to perform the link or perform some must be able to see that these two process, that means first of all it should create a process for these two programs, and also it must also provide the mechanism to handle the communication, but and also for kind of process synchronization. Let's say client requires data from server, it must provide mechanisms to handle this synchronization. And also, and finally, when the client and server program has completed, the resources that were allocated to these processes must be deallocated back. uh, Finally, it must delete the user process and system processes. Whatever memory that was being used by these two processes must be released. In case there is a deadlock, the OS that uh, must see to some technique to resolve such deadlock. So let's talk about the next task of operating system, that is memory management. No, as you know, main memory is a large array of words or bytes, which may be from hundreds to thousands of billions of words may be residing in main memory, and each word or byte it has its own address. The main memory is like a repository of accessible data shared by the CPU and IO devices. What does the central processor do is it reads the instructions from the main memory during the instruction fetch cycle, right? And then and both reads and writes data from the main memory during data fetch cycle. So to execute the all or a part of the program, instructions must be there in memory, and all or a part of the program that is needed by the program must be in the main memory. So who does this task of allocating the processes to the main memory? Who deallocates the processes? It's the OS, right? So for a program to be executed, first of all, it must be mapped to absolute address and loaded to memory. And as the program executes, it accesses the program instructions and data from memory by generating these absolute addresses. So when the program terminates, the memory space is declared available and the next program can be loaded and executed. So operating system is mainly responsible for keeping track of which parts are being currently used, okay, and by whom it is being used. and also allocating and deallocating the memory space as and when required. So this is the main task of an operating system, allocating and deallocating the memory space as and when required, and deciding which process must be moved out in and out of the main memory. So next task is about storage management. The operating system maps the files onto some physical media and accesses these files via the storage devices. So to make the computer system convenient for users, so it has to provide some logical view of information storage. That is, it's somehow abstracts the physical properties to the logical storage unit. You must have observed in your system wherein all the folders are given in some logical form, and you do not see the internal hierarchy of the storage in terms of tree structure in your system. It just gives you an abstract logical view of the system, and each medium will be controlled by a device. Let's say, for example, disk drive or tape drive, and there are several properties for each of the media. To talk about the file system management, this is one of the most visible components, right? Computers can store the information on different types of physical media like magnetic disk or optical disk or magnetic tape, and each of them has have their own characteristics. So each medium will be controlled by a device. The properties include all the capacity, or each one will have its own capacity or speed or data transfer rate. And file, talking about the files, file is a collection of related information defined by its creator. So data, it may be a data file, or it may be a program file. Data files can be numeric, alphabetic, or any other binary version, or files may be some free form like text files. Okay, the operating system implements the abstract concept of file by managing the mass storage media like disk or tapes. So finally, all these files will be stored in the or organized in the directories to make them easier. What is the main goal of this operating system in terms of management? First of all, when a file is when a file command is given by the user, it must create the files or create corresponding directories, and it should also organize those directories or files appropriately, and it must map onto the secondary storage. That is, whenever we create a file, let's say some file name, it will be stored in some directory. That is called as a mapping, and mapping files onto the secondary storage. Third one, it should support primitives to manipulate the files and directories. For example, the user has asked to change some data within the file. It must provide some mechanism to handle this manipulation. And finally, backup the files onto a non-volatile media. So all these facilities must be provided by the operating system in terms of file system management. So here let's talk about mass storage management. Is main memory is too small and it cannot hold all the data or programs, and these data may be lost when the power is lost, right? The computer system must provide some kind of secondary storage in order to back up the main memory. So proper management of disk storage is of much importance, and OS is responsible for handling the free space management, storage allocation, and disk scheduling, like which part of the disk must be given for collecting input. All these things must be maintained and managed by the OS. Which part of the disk is free and how to manage the space within the disk, this must also be handled by the operating system. So secondary storage is mostly used, right? It must be used efficiently, so that it must not reduce the speed. It must improve the speed of operation of the computer system.